So far, we have talked a bit about some casino games like roulette, blackjack, and slot machines, but we haven't really talked that much about sportsbook. Sports betting and casino games are definitely not the same thing, but they do bear some similarities to each other. First of all, both are forms of gambling. Both are also usually found in online casinos. And of course, they also have distinct differences from each other as well. Betting on sports teams has become an important service industry in many countries. For example, millions of people play the football pools every week in the United Kingdom. In addition to organized sports betting, both legal and illegal, there are many side betting games played by casual groups of spectators, such as the basketball tournament bracket balls, the Super Bowl squares, and fantasy sports leagues with monetary entry fees and winnings. Sports are always a bit more exciting when you have action on the line, and this aspect is why sports gambling has become such a popular form of gambling over the last 200 years. Its rise in popularity can be traced back to the establishment of public horse racing tracks, where many different people from many different walks of life could place bets on their favorite racehorses. But today, many players who are serious about sports betting do a lot of research to achieve more successful outcomes on their wagers. If you're betting on a football team's performance during a tournament, for example, you will consider the impact of new players who have joined the team, previous results the team achieved, the home field advantages, the impact of injured players, and in general, the team's morale. The same type of work needs to be done on the part of the iGaming company, of course, in order to provide the appropriate odds, meaning odds that represent the actual probability of the events happening. So, let's talk a bit about the different types of bets. Win and moneyline bets are interchangeable, although said differently, they both mean the same thing. In the United States, most people refer to this type of bet as a moneyline wager. Around the rest of the globe, the same kind of wager is called a win bet. But no matter what you call it, this type of bet is the most basic one of all. With this type of wager, you will simply be selecting who you believe will win the game or the match or the race that you're betting on. And here's an example for you. If you're betting on an upcoming NBA game between the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat, you'll need to determine which team you think will win. If you believe that Miami will come out on top, you will place a win bet on Miami. If Miami goes on to win the game, you'll also win your bet. It's that simple. Now, this type of wager also has two names associated with it. People in the United States most often refer to this bet type as a total, while the rest of the globe typically calls it an over-under bet. Once again, both refer to the same type of sports bet. Totals are another very simple wager. With a totals bet, the sportsbook will issue a specified total associated with a sporting event. In many cases, this total is tied to the number of points scored in a game. And when placing this type of bet, you'll have to decide if you think the total will actually come in over or under the number set by the sportsbook. So let's look at an example. If we circle back to the Miami Heat versus Chicago Bulls game, a sportsbook may set a totals line at 199 points. If you believe that both teams combined will score more than 199 points in the game, you will bet the over. Conversely, if you feel like the teams will have a combined score less than that, you'd bet the under. And if you pick correctly, you'll win the totals bet. Another type of bet that can be placed on many sporting events is a point spread wager. This type of wager is used very commonly in the United States. And another similar kind of bet is also common in parts of Europe and other places around the globe. In these places, this type of wager is referred to as handicap betting. The core idea behind both of these wager types is the same. It all starts with a sportsbook determining which team they think is favored to win the match. Once they have that done, they'll then assign a total number of points they believe this team will win the game by. It's up to you to then decide if you think that the pick by the sportsbook is over or understated. So here's an example to help you visualize this. In an upcoming game with the Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat, the sportsbook has posted a point spread of 5 points in favor of Miami. In short, that means that the sportsbook expects Miami to win by that many points. If you were placing a point spread wager on this game, you'd have to choose if you think the sportsbook is high or low. So if you think that Miami will win the game by at least 5 points or more, you will bet on Miami. However, if you believe that Chicago will win the game or that Chicago will lose the game by 4 points or less, then you'd wager on Chicago. In the sports betting world, futures bets and outright bets also mean the same thing. With this type of sports wager, you'd be selecting the winner of an overall tournament, competition, or league. In most cases, you'd be making your pick well in advance of an actual sporting event happening, and it's because of this that the term futures is associated with these bets. For example, you might bet on the winner of the NBA Finals before the next season actually starts. And another sample is if you bet on the winner of the Super Bowl before a single NFL game was played for the current season. In both of those examples, you are placing a wager well in advance of the actual event happening. And because most of these outright bets are placed so far ahead of their completion, they can be tough to pick correctly. Because of this, the payouts associated with them can be very, very attractive. However, it's important to keep in mind that the attractive payouts usually mean that they are risky bets. Also known as prop bets or specials, proposition bets can be on just about anything. As an example, you can place prop bets on which team or player will score first in a game. Other prop bets include the time of the first goal in a soccer match, or which team player will score the first run in a game. And these samples hardly scratch the surface on different prop bets that you can place. In reality, there are all kinds of different things that you can bet on using this kind of wager. When it comes to parlays and accumulators, things begin to get a bit more complicated. With these types of bets, the player selects a string of picks as part of one single wager. For example, if you're betting on horse racing, you can place an accumulator bet on the winner of 6 different races. To win this wager, your picks would need to be accurate for all 6 races. If just one single one of your picks is incorrect, you will lose the bet and your stake. So, these are some of the most common bet types. One of the things that makes sports betting so complicated is that it's hard to break down things in a statistical, numerical fashion, whereas in casino games you can get an exact percentage on what the betting options are. In sports, it requires a bit more instinct and knowledge of its sport's particular characteristics. When it comes to betting on sports, the odds are worked out based on the chances of something happening. For example, a team winning a game, a fighter going X number of rounds, or the most 180s if you're betting on darts. To keep in business, sportsbook casinos reserve a percentage of those odds for themselves, which is called a rake. Sometimes gamblers call this juice. Winning bets are paid when the event finishes. or if not finished, when played long enough to become official. Otherwise, all bets are returned. This policy can cause some confusion since there can be a difference between what the sportsbook considers official and what the sports league considers official. The betting volume at sportsbooks varies throughout the year. Bettors have more interest in certain types of sports and increase the money wagered when those sports are in season. Major sporting events that don't follow a specific schedule, like boxing, can create peaks of activity for sportsbooks. In this module, we learned about all the different types of bets. We learned about the rake or the commission that sportsbook operators take for each wager, and the ranging betting schedules or betting volumes depending on the season. Thanks for joining me. And the next module, we're going to talk about the most popular game in a casino, the slot machine.